And let's go across to the Ukrainian capital, where US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy are holding a joint press conference.
Reasons that we're confident Ukraine will keep moving forward, no matter how great the obstacles thrown in their way. Ukrainians have demonstrated time and again that nothing can stand in the way of a people committed to shaping their own future.
Well, thank you, Lammy, for welcoming me here to Kyiv. And thank you, Tony, for joining me on this important and historic visit. I last visited in May, and I return today at a vital time because we are united in our ironclad support for Ukraine. For 2.5 years, you have bravely and fiercely defended yourselves against Russia's full-scale invasion. But as we heard today, Putin's ugly attempts to restore the Russian Empire began much earlier, with the illegal annexation of Crimea 10 years ago. Putin claims he wishes to liberate Ukrainian civilians, but he denies the right of their nation to exist. He has sent in tanks and soldiers to enforce his diktat, and he inflicts horrors on Crimea and other regions of Ukraine under the Russian yoke, with stories of forced disappearances, sinister re-education camps, and torture. Putin's barbaric actions are the latest example of a very old and evil story. One of my ancestors was taken from their home, enslaved, chained on a ship, and forced to work for the profit of a foreign empire. He knew only too well what imperialism was. No act of authoritarianism is ever exactly the same. But 80 years after Stalin deported the Crimean Tatars, 240 years after Catherine the Great annexed Crimea, Putin has revealed the same arrogance, the same greed, the same disdain for the rights of other individuals and nations. This is imperialism. This is fascism. And this week we have been reminded of how other authoritarian regimes are aiding Putin, with Iran going even further in support for Moscow by providing ballistic missiles, a significant and dangerous escalation. Britain and the US and our partners have responded quickly to Tehran's undermining of global security. Britain has sanctioned Iranian officials and entities, as well as Russian entities and cargo ships involved in the transfer of weapons. And together we've restricted Iran's air flights to Europe. This response is in keeping with our commitment to remain Ukraine's staunchest friend. And I'm proud of that commitment. I'm proud of Prime Minister Starmer's commitment to provide $3 billion in military...
All right, those are live visuals coming in from the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, where the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and UK's Foreign Secretary David Lammy are holding a joint press conference. Now, this joint press conference comes at a time when Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is calling for Western curbs on long-range missile strikes inside Russia to be lifted immediately. So during the press conference, there were recurring calls for an quote-unquote ironclad support towards Ukraine, while also calling Russia an imperial and fascist country. Both leaders accused Moscow of denying Kyiv's right to exist. It's also important to know that another high-stakes meeting is expected soon between UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer. He's scheduled to meet US President Joe Biden, and they are set to take a decision on removing the curbs on Kyiv that Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has been asking for. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.